Hello and welcome to Math 055. This is the very first video for the course, and I want to quickly go over, just a couple things and reminders about taking notes and how all this stuff works. So first of all, I want you to notice that what you see here on the screen is the same thing as the packet that you guys were given. And so make sure you've printed that out and, that you're writing on top of this, and that this is where the learning takes place, okay? So not only do I want you guys to write things down that I'm writing down, but I also want you guys to, write things down that I'm saying that I don't write down, okay? That's just good note-taking practice. Because this is where the learning takes place, it's cool because you can pause and play the video at your convenience. So if you're like, hey, wait a second, what did he just say there? You can go back and replay that. Okay, the other cool thing about the videos is that you can slow down and speed up the videos to meet your needs, okay? That's a very powerful tool. Maybe you feel really comfortable in this class and you're like, hey, let me speed this up a little bit. And maybe you're the type of person that needs to slow down the video. So, but in any case, the video, this is where you guys learn, okay? And I want you guys to utilize this tool so that, you can learn from it, okay? And rewatch the videos as necessary. If you're sitting there and you're like, hey, wait a second, I feel like I've done this before, and you look back at your notes, and maybe your notes don't make as much sense as they should, go back and rewatch the video for that portion. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And holler if you have any other questions about that, but let's go ahead and get started with this and get through the video. So this first section, section 2.1, is a section about graphs. And what we're going to do is we're going to review some terms associated with graphing and learn how to graph equations in two variables on the Cartesian plane. So a graph, and I'm going to come up here and write up in this space, and make sure you guys write small. I don't leave the most room for you, so make sure you write small. But the first thing I want to talk about is that a graph, okay, a graph is a relation between two variables. Okay, and typically those variables that we're going to use are going to be variables x and y. Okay, and what I do is I draw a graph like so, okay, and I usually plot my horizontal axis as x and my vertical axis as y. Now, I just want to think of a scenario real quick. What I want to do is give some real-world context to this, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to label my x-axis as months. Okay, so what I know is that my variable represents the months, okay? And then my y-axis, I'm going to label that with my total cell phone bill, okay? Total cell phone bill, okay? And so that's what y represents. So y represents the total amount that your cell phone bill is, and x represents months. Let's say that you pay... All right, let's just say that you pay $70 per month in a cell phone bill, okay? And so, what we can do is we can model this. And if we assign the value of x to be months and y to be the cost of the cell phone bill, what we can do is we can model this. And I can say, all right, well, at 0, 0 months, I have paid $0, okay? After 1 month, okay, I'm paying a total of $70, okay? And I plot a point, okay? After 2 months, I am paying a total of $140 a month, okay? And we continue this trend, and what we have is we end up having a linear, a graph that represents a line, okay? So after 3 months, we pay $210, and so forth, okay? And we can model this using a line, all right? And so it's kind of a cool thing. And I'm just using an example of something that we all do. We all have cell phones. We all pay a cell phone bill. So all I'm doing is showing you a relationship between two variables, okay? What month is it? How many months have we had the cell phone and how much have we paid, okay? And I'm just modeling that. Now, each of these points, you know, we represent these points. This is the point 1, comma 70, okay? This is the point 2, comma 140. This is the point 3, comma 210, okay? And so what I want you to see is that, you know, I can, you know, we can just show these as points. We can look at a graph, and they all mean the same thing. So what I want to do now is go through and plot and go over some examples that we'll have in class. Now, when I'm going through this video, sometimes what I'll do is, you know, I'll have some instructions here on how to do things. I may or may not actually go through how to do these things. And sometimes I may just skip over this, and that's kind of up for you guys to read. If you want more clarification on these instructions, just let me know, and I'll be happy to go over that. But typically what I do is I'm just going to, you know, go through an example and kind of show you what, and demonstrate over here what all of this stuff means, okay? So let's go over here and jot this down. So on this example, it's asking us to plot the following points on the Cartesian plane and determine in which quadrant or which axis each point is located. So when I draw a Cartesian plane, it's similar to the one I had before, but it's more of a T-chart, or it's more of like a cross like this, okay? And this entire horizontal axis is my x-axis, okay? This entire vertical axis up here is my y-axis, okay? So, and let me just write that in, that this is my x-axis. Make sure you guys are writing small. I apologize. I may go off the page a little bit. And up here is my y-axis. Okay, now, what we've done is we have split this up into 4 different, what we call quadrants, okay? And so over here, in this one, this is my first quadrant, okay? So I'm going to call this quadrant 1, okay? And I use a Roman numeral of 1 to show that. Now, what I know in this quadrant is that my x value is positive and my y value is positive, okay? And that's what I've got. Now, over in, say, quadrant 2, okay, let me go over to quadrant 2, okay? What I know is that my x value is negative and my y value is positive, okay? Over in quadrant 3, over here, quadrant 3, okay, what I know is that both my x value and my y value are negative. So I have negative x, comma, negative y, okay? And then my last one, quadrant 4, okay, I have a positive x value and I have a negative y value. So what that does is it allows me to, you know, come over here and help me plot my points. Now what I know is this, okay, if I just think of my x-axis, well, let's first talk about our origin, all right? Origin is the middle point here, 0, 0, okay? And I'm going to call this my origin. Okay, that's the point 0, comma 0. All right, and I know that on my x-axis, if I just look at my x-axis, here's 0 on my x-axis, okay? Over here on this side, the x values are positive, okay? And notice what happens. If I'm on this side in these 2 quadrants, my x values are positive, all right? Now over here on this side of my x-axis, this part is negative, okay? Same thing with my y-axis. Up here this is positive, down here this is negative, okay? And that's going to help me plot my points, okay? Now we need to kind of come up with a little bit of a scale here. And scale means is how far do I space out my numbers on my x and y axis. And what I do is I kind of look at my points and I say, okay, my largest point is 8. So I want to make sure I at least have a point of at least 8 tick marks on each side of all of these. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so and try and space them out as evenly as you can. I recommend that you guys, use some graph paper for some of these things. It would not hurt to have a little stack of graph paper. Okay, so let's just go ahead and plot these points. Now I want to plot the point which we'll call A here, and that's the point -2, 5. Now what I notice is that all of my points are in the form of my x value first, okay, and then my y value second, okay. So when I look at -2, what I'm doing is I'm locating that on my x-axis, okay. So I start here, and this means I'm going to go to the left 2, all right, and I'm going to show that in red. I'm going to go to the left 2. And then this value here means that I have a y value of 5, meaning that I'm going to move up 5 on my y-axis, okay? And it shows that, in quadrant 2, what I notice is that my x value is negative, y value is positive. So if that's the case here and here, then I know my point's going to be in quadrant 2. All right, and so then I'm going to go up 5. So let me change colors to blue. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And where those 2 points meet, okay, over to up 5, I'm going to plot a point here, and I'm going to call that point A, okay? And all that is a location, okay? So a point, let's write that over here. A point just represents a location on the graph. Location on the graph. Okay, and that's it. All right, so let's go ahead and plot point B, which is the point 0, -6. Now, what I notice about that is that 0, -6, since I have an x value of 0, I don't go anywhere left and right. Okay, I'm just going to start at my origin, and the -6 prompts me to go down 6 units. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and plot a point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Plot a point. Okay, and that is point B. Okay, now point C is the point -3, -7. Now what I'm going to do there is I'm going to go over to the left 3, so 1, 2, 3, and then down 7. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and so that point's going to be right there. And I'm going to plot that, and we're going to call that point C. That's the location where C is. Okay, and then point D is the point 8, 0. So I'm going to go over... So what this tells me is that 8 is my x value. So I look along my x-axis, and I'm going to go over 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I don't go, 0 is my y value, so I don't go up and down. I just stop on the x-axis, and I just plot my point there, and that's going to be point D. Okay? So pretty self-explanatory. I did this because I wanted you guys to make sure that we understood how to draw a graph. Okay? A lot of times what I will do is I will actually give you guys a graph to use on the notes, but on this one I wanted to actually draw it out. So it takes a little bit more time, but it's good practice. All right, so let's go down, and so that's that. Okay, so now, that's the first example that we've done, and what we've done is we've plotted points. Now what you'll be asked to do on homework is to do problems that are similar to this. Okay, and what you'll need to do is... make sure that you have your notes out. These notes tell you what to do. Okay, now I didn't write everything down. A lot of the information that was going down, that is happening in this video is what I'm saying. Okay, now if you remember how to do this, and you can just look at these pictures and say, okay, I know where to plot those points. Point A is here, point B is here, point C and D, and you can figure it out that way. That's totally fine. But if you're sitting there and you're like, hey, I'm looking at my notes and these notes don't make any sense, then what I need to do is I need to make sure I go back and rewatch and maybe write some things down that he said on how to plot these points, okay? So that's good practice. All right, so now let's go take a look at the next one. Okay, so we're going to look at the bottom of the page. And what we're going to talk about on this part is solutions of equations in two variables. So the first thing I'm going to write is that a solution makes the equation true. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that here in a second. Makes the equation true. Okay. And what I have is that a solution, if we're talking about an equation, that has two variables, okay, then those two variables are going to be represented by coordinate ordered pairs or coordinate points, okay? And typically when we write these points, they are in alphabetical order. So x, y, okay, whatever is the first number is going to typically be your x value or your independent variable. Your second value in your ordered pair is going to be your y value. So if you are, x and y is something that we're pretty familiar with. But let's say we have something like AB, okay? AB, then, A would represent your x value, B would represent your y value, okay? We're pretty confident with x and y values, so I always kind of go back to that. But let's go ahead and let's talk about some of these problems, okay? So in part one, we want to determine whether each ordered pair is a solution to the given equation. So in part A, I'm going to rewrite part A, and I'm going to write the ordered pair 1, 4, and then the semicolon, and then we're going to test whether that's a solution to y equals 5x minus 1. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to analyze this point here. Now, when I look at this point, I want to identify what my x value is, and I want to identify what my y value is, okay, because my equation is in x, y, okay? So remember, x is always my first value, so x is 1, so I'm going to let x equal 1, and I'm going to let y equal my second value, which is 4. Okay, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to plug these numbers into this equation and determine, do these numbers, if I plug them in and do the math, do I have a true statement? Okay, so let me do that. So what I want to do here is I'm going to plug in my value for y. So y is equal to 4. So I replace y with what it's equal to, which is 4. Okay, so I'm going to plug 4 in. 4 is equal to 5 times x. Now, x has a value of 1. Okay, so I'm going to plug in 1, and then minus 1. All right, so now I've got this. I've got 4 is equal to 5 times 1 minus 1. So 5 times 1, let's just do the math, is 5, and then minus 1. Now 5 minus 1 is 4. Okay, so I've got the statement that 4 is equal to 4. Okay, this is a true statement. 4 is equal to 4. All right, and that's what I mean by an equation, or a solution makes an equation true. This makes the equation true. If you plug it in and do the math and you get a true statement, that's true. So then I know that yes, okay, 1, 4 is a solution. Okay, and that's it. That's all we're doing. Okay, let's take a look at part B. All right, and let me rewrite that over here. So B, I'm going to use red. A little bit out of order here. I apologize. And so guys, and that's the thing. Use the spaces as you deem fit. Okay. This problem took about this much space. I probably should have done that problem over here. But I'll do B over here. And sorry, I apologize. It doesn't look very good. All right. So B. Okay. I have the point 6, -2. Okay. And I'm dealing with the equation R minus S is equal to 4, okay? Now, here's what I know, that R comes before S in the alphabet, okay? So I can identify what these numbers are, all right? So if I were to do this, I would let R equal 6, and S is equal to -2, okay? And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug those numbers in and see what happens. So I'm going to plug in 6, whoops, okay, 6 for R minus, now we're subtracting S. Now this is where it gets a little interesting. Okay, if I'm subtracting an S, then what I'm going to do is plug in -2 for S. Okay, so even though it's already negative, I'm still going to plug in a negative number. Okay, and that determine, does that give us 4? All right, so if I have 6 minus -2, that's really 6 plus 2. Is that equal to 4? And so I get that 8 equals 4. Now the question is we have to analyze, is this a true statement? Is 8 equal to 4? And the answer is no. This is a false statement, okay? So what we would say for our answer is that no, it's not a solution. Okay? Okay, let's take a look at the last one. And let me do that part over here. Okay, part C. And that's going to be the point -2, 9, and see if that works with the equation a cubed plus b is equal to 1. Okay, and so what I want to know is what's my a value and what's my b value. Now I can tell that information from here, and since a comes before b in the alphabet, -2 is my a value. Okay, and 9 is my b value. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug these values in. Now this is where it also gets a little tricky. Okay, I'm going to plug, and I'm going to do this down here. I'm going to need a little bit of space. If I do a cubed, now what I'm going to do is I'm raising -2 to an exponent. I'm going to put -2 in parentheses here. Okay, and I'm going to raise that to the third power. Okay, and then I'm going to add b to that, which is 9, and we're going to see if that gives me 1. Okay, so now when I do -2 cubed, you know, what I'm doing is I'm doing -2 times -2 times -2, and then plus 9, and that's equal to 1. Okay, so if I take -2 times -2, that's going to give me +4. Okay, multiply that by -2, add 9, is that equal to 1? Okay, 4 times -2 is going to give me -8. Okay, and then plus 9 is equal to 1. Is that going to give me 1? And so -8 plus 9, yes, that does give me 1. Same thing as like saying 9 minus 8. So 1 is equal to 1. Now this is true. Okay, so because that's true, then I have yes. Okay, yes, this is a solution. So yes, the point -2, 9, okay, is a solution. Okay. Now, guys, I want to talk about something real quick before we move on to the next page. You know, this video, okay, because you have tested into this class either by, you know, some sort of AccuPlacer score or an SAT score or whatever, okay, means that you meet all the requirements for the previous class, which is Math 050. So if there is something that I have done, that I do in this class that you're like, hey, wait a second, how did you do that? Make sure that you ask me that question and you send me an email or log on to office hours, because there might be something that you forget from that class, okay? I might have done something here and I might go through something and you might be lost and be like, hey, where did you get that information? The issue is that you have shown us that you already have all that information. Okay, now there are things that I will go over, but if you have a question and you're wondering, hey, how did you get that? Why did you have that as an answer? Or how did that step work? That's something that you need to ask questions about. Okay, and that's an important part of the class. So, all right, so just wanted to clarify that. So there might be something that I do that might confuse you, you know, in the notes, and that's where you need to, you know, ask questions to try and figure out why I did that, okay? Let's go ahead and move on to the next page. Okay, and what I'm going to do on the next page is we are going to graph an equation in two variables, okay? And so, you know, and over here are the steps on how to do that. And so the first step is to set up a table of values. What we usually call this a t-table with a column for x and a column for y. I'm going to do that over here. I don't typically use this type of table. We're going to choose both negative x values and positive x values, okay? And then 3, we're going to find corresponding y values for those x values. 4, choose an appropriate scale to plot those points, and then connect the points with a line, and then go from there. So that's kind of the general rule of thumb to plot something like this, okay? Now, when I do this, all right, I'm going to plot a t-chart, okay? And I'm going to do mine vertically, all right? I'm going to do x, y, okay? Now, when I do this, the thing that we have to remember here when we're plotting these points, or we're trying to find points to graph the line, we choose our x values, okay? We choose x values. Okay, and I'll show you which ones we typically choose. Okay, and the y values, this depends on the x values. Okay, and I'll show you how I get those. Okay, so we choose our x values. Now, typically what I do is I choose the same x values every time. Okay, and what that's going to look like is this. I'm going to choose the value -2. I'm going to choose the value -1. I'm going to choose the value 0. I'm going to choose the value 1 and choose the value 2. Okay, that's pretty standard for choosing x values. Okay, now we choose these. Now what I have to do is I have to plug in my x values into my equation to figure out what the y values are. Okay, so let's do that. All right, so what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to write down my equation, y equals x plus 3. So I've got y equals x plus 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to first let x equal -2. Okay, and so if I let x equal -2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug that value into this equation for x, and that'll allow me to figure out what y is. Okay, so if I do y is equal to -2, plug that in for x, and then add 3. Okay, and what happens is that's going to give me a y value of -2 plus 3 is 1. Okay, so when x is -2, y is equal to +1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug that in here. Okay, y is equal to 1. Okay, now I do the next one. Okay, I'm going to let x equal -1. So let x equal -1. Okay, so I'm going to plug that into my equation. Y is equal to -1 plus 3. Now if I take -1 and add it to 3, that's going to give me 2. So y is equal to 2. Okay, so now what I've got is this y value of 2. Okay, now let's go ahead and let x equal 0. Okay, let x equal 0. So if I plug that in, I got y equals 0 plus 3. And I get y is equal to just 0 plus 3 is 3. Okay, so y is equal to 3 on that part. Okay, so maybe you're seeing a pattern here. Okay, as the x values go up, the y value, or as the x values go up by 1, the y values also go up by 1. So that's kind of a standard thing. We'll talk about why that works in future sections. So let's take a look. When x is 1, let's plug that guy in. So let x equal 1, and we've got y is equal to 1 plus 3. So that's going to give me y is equal to 4. Okay, and then so if the pattern continues, if I plug in 2, we should get 5. So let's let x equal 2. And we do y is equal to 2 plus 3, so we get that y is equal to 5. Nailed it. All right, so why are we doing this? Okay, so when I plug those in, this is 4, this is 5. Okay, what this does, this is a t-chart. Okay, we have x values and we have y values. Now, each of these pairs of numbers represents points. Okay, if I take this point here, -2, 1, this is the point, -2, comma 1. This is the point here, -1, comma 2. This is the point 0, comma 3. This is the point 1, comma 4. Okay, this is the point 2, comma 5. Okay, now what I do is I plot these on the graph. So plot on the graph. Okay, just like we did before. All right, so if I went ahead and plotted the point -2, 1, all right, so I've got this point here, -2, 1 is right here. Okay, I have the point -1, 2. So start at my origin, okay, go left 1, up 2. Okay, if I have the point 0, 3, means I start at my origin and I just go up 3 units. So I plot a point there. Okay, and then I have the point 1, 4. Okay, and then 2, 5. Okay, and what I have is I have a line. If I connect those with a line, okay, that's what it's going to give me. And that line is represented by y equals x plus 3. So there's a couple things I want to show you here, okay, and talk about something. Okay, we have what's called an equation, okay, which we have as y equals x plus 3. Okay, we have a graph, okay, which we have shown that here. Okay, it's a visual representation of this equation. And then we have a table. Okay, and what I want you guys to realize is that all of these things represent the same thing, the same idea. Okay, It's just different ways of writing it, okay? It's a relationship between two variables, okay? And that's what we're talking about, okay? So, you know, when I think about this, if I have an equation, okay, I can represent that by a graph, and I can represent that by a table of values, which are the points. Okay, all three of these things represent the same idea, okay? If you understand this concept, okay, math becomes a lot easier, all right? Especially when we get into graphing, you know, quadratics and rational functions and those things like that, and things that you'll do in 121 and things that you'll understand when you take further math classes, you know, like college algebra and stats, okay, and even calculus if you're going to go that far. So, you know, understanding this idea that an equation and a graph and a table is the same idea, okay, just different ways of representing the same concept, a relationship between two variables, then you're good to go, okay? So now, we've taken these notes, okay? This is kind of a long video because I was explaining, you know, a few things on how to take notes and that type of thing. So, you know, the next step in this is to take, you know, a picture or scan this your notes as a PDF and hand that into Canvas, okay? And then what I want you to do is do these problems for homework, okay, at the bottom of the page for 2.1. And then, okay, the most important thing is your ability to do the recording yourself problems, okay? I am more concerned about that than taking notes and doing the homework. Now, that's where the learning and practice takes place, guys, but you have to apply it to recording yourself, okay? So, you know, good luck with that. Let me know if you have any questions, and, you know, we'll move on to the next one. So, see you in a bit. Thanks a lot. Bye.